Hi everybody, it's Emily here. I hope you're doing well. This week I wanted to speak with you all a little bit about some tips and tools for dealing with stress and anxiety, and specifically as it relates to our sleep and getting good sleep. I've spoken to a few people over the past couple of weeks that have been struggling with their own sleep, and it makes total sense. Of course, we're facing the end of the semester, we have assignments and papers due, and then on top of that, if you're like me, we're looking for jobs, and then of course we have the both personal and communal struggles of the virus and everything going on there. And so I'm no expert in this field, but I have struggled with sleep, my own sleep patterns in the past, and so I just thought I would take a few moments to walk through some tools that might become useful for you. The first thing that I wanted to mention is it can be really helpful to establish a schedule. So finding that time where we can go to rest at a regular time and finding that time when we can wake ourselves up. It's really important to try to keep that schedule because your body remembers that rhythm. And so establishing that as soon as possible is really best. The second thing kind of related to that is creating a sleep ritual for yourself. So that can be anything from 10 minutes long to even a full hour long. And for some people, it's really nice to take a warm shower or a bath, doing your grooming rituals, whatever that is. Maybe reading a book that helps you kind of drift off into sleep, something that you don't mind putting down. So nothing like really exciting that you want to keep reading, or journaling or prayer. Anything that allows you to kind of drift into that sleeping state. One tip that's really helpful is trying to turn off electronics, maybe like 30 minutes before bedtime. There's different studies around what the actual amount of time is best, but trying to reduce that screen time before we go to sleep is really helpful. And so establishing that boundary for yourself and then entering into that sort of ritual that you find is helpful. Another thing is just limiting the amount of times and the amount that we take naps. So it's recommended that naps are about 20 minutes in length. I know that sounds short, but that's so that we don't enter the REM state of sleep, that really deep sleep, because when we do that, we can kind of be even groggier when we wake up. And of course, doing naps earlier in the day, earlier in the morning or afternoon can be helpful so that we're able to find sleep later in the day. Another thing that can be useful is when we're thinking about sleep, all of our senses are involved. So making sure that our space feels tidy and clean can allow our minds to feel a little less cluttered. And also making sure that we have, sounds and smells and things that feel good. So having that comfortable pair of pajamas on, or having those nicely washed sheets, or even having some sort of aromatherapy spray. There's one that I use on my own pillow each night, and it has this mixture of chamomile and lavender. And it just allows me to know, okay, Emily, it's time to go to sleep, and having all my senses involved can be really nice. Another thing that we can do is really make the bedroom a place of rest. And so trying to limit any work that we do in the bedroom and maybe pushing that outside of the bedroom. So not taking your computer in your bed, maybe not, paying bills or looking at emails or writing papers, and just creating that space so that when you enter your bedroom, okay, this is a place where I can go to rest. Now, if you're in an apartment and your desk is right there inside your room, maybe just closing all your books and even tucking them under your desk or putting them away so you can't see them visibly can just be a nice way to create that boundary for yourself. Another thing is, of course, exercise. During the day, exercising our bodies can be really helpful to get all that built up energy out. And then at night, maybe doing something like stretching, yoga, Tai Chi even can be really helpful to kind of loosen up our bodies before we go into that resting state. If you're in the middle of night and you kind of get disturbed by your sleep, sometimes some people struggle more with waking up at night than actually falling asleep. The best thing I would do is to recommend to avoid looking at the time. I know it's really tempting to flip that phone over or to look at that clock and see, oh my goodness, it's 2 in the morning, it's 3 in the morning, it's 4 in the morning, and kind of counting those hours, that can even build up that anxiety of the amount of loss of sleep that you're getting. So maybe just avoid looking at the time. And if you find that there's those thoughts that are distracting you, maybe pull out a notebook, a piece of paper, jot them down, kind of mind dump, and then close it. And then know that you can come back to those tomorrow. You can look at those at a later time, and that can allow you to kind of create that space for yourself. If you want some guided imagery to help you with sleep, you can look at apps like Headspace or It's Insight Timer. You can also look up what's called Yoga Nidra, which is a really slow meditation that helps you with body awareness and can allow you to tune into your breath as you go to sleep. The last thing that I'll mention is the breath. So sometimes we feel anxiety when we're about to sleep. That's when some people, like myself, our minds begin to race. We think of a lot of different things. We have all of these ideas. And so just tuning into the breath itself can be a really nice anchor point. Maybe you just do a simple breathing exercise, inhaling for a count of 4, holding, and exhaling for a count of 4. And even just counting those breaths in and out can allow you to kind of leave those other thoughts away. Another thing you can do if you feel like you're having that crazy brain is you can look around the room and name 5 things that you see. You can name 4 things that maybe you can touch. You can name 3 things that you hear, and maybe 1 thing that you can smell. Just engaging all of your senses in that way and kind of almost tricking the brain to stop thinking about all of those other things that are on your mind. I hope that these tips have been useful. Sleep well, be well, light and peace to you all.